Hello, Indie Warriors. Welcome. We are at PAX 2024. It is our third PAX, I believe. I'm counting that right.
Is it not fourth?
Is this our fourth? I don't know. I've lost count.
My first PAX ever.
This is definitely Barely Magic Mike's first PAX and his first time meeting anybody on the internet, apparently. So, yeah, tell us about that.
I've been deflowered. I don't know.
One thing I noticed right away this year, Silent Signs, is that this place is a lot emptier than previous years.
It does seem a little bit thinner, but there's still plenty of folks here and it's still filling in. So I'm excited to actually see everything, hopefully.
Yeah, no Devolver this year, no Yacht Club Games, no Raw Fury, but we're going to get a good opportunity here to see a lot of smaller indies that way, which really has me excited. It's a little more low-key, though I'm sure Saturday will still be a shit show.
It always is.
So Barely Magic Mike, I know you got here Thursday. What games have you played so far, and what are you looking forward to playing going forward?
Let's see. So I played Widow yesterday for a little bit. That's a very cute sort of like unpacking, where everything's made of wood and it all snaps together very, very satisfyingly. It is absolutely adorable, and I'm pretty sure everybody's going to love it when it actually comes out. And I think I played Dark Sky, which is kind of like a non-roguelike deck builder. Some of you may know that I am in love with deck builders, and that was really cool. I think that was about it before I got too tired and needed to go take a nap.
Yeah, if y'all don't know, which you don't, Barely Magic Mike went from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. So long travels, but it's all worth it for indie games, folks. We're going to get right into the interviews now. Enjoy the video, and we will talk to y'all later.
Time for some killer clowns.
Hello, Indie Warriors. This is Barely Magic Mike coming to you from PAX East. We just played Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the game, which was a ton of fun. I'm with the dev team here, and I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Well, hey there. I'm Stephen Kyoto, the director of Killer Klowns.
Edward Kyoto, producer of Killer Klowns.
I'm Charlie Kyoto. I designed the Killer Klowns.
Jordan Mathewson, design director, Delphonic.
Awesome. So, like I said, we just got some hands-on time with it. I had a ton of fun with it. I escaped with 2 seconds left, and I'm very proud of that. It was, even though I haven't played games like this before that much, I felt like it was very easy to kind of wrap my head around and get right into it. So I wanted to ask, what are some of your key inspirations for this Killer Klowns game?
Oh, well, the movie we started years ago, back in 1988, it was inspired by me imagining being scared by a clown while I was driving down a mountain road. Clown being where it shouldn't be was really frightening to me. And then we played with the idea and made them from outer space with a lot of cotton candy cocoon and killer kills.
Yeah, so the fact that Ilphonic comes along 36 years later and wants to do a video game based on our movie is like a dream come true for us.
And since we love monster movies, the movies of the 50s and 60s, those are our passions. The Looney Tunes, Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, all of that stuff. We found a vehicle that we could exploit all of the things that we love. All the science fiction movies we put is like an homage to everything that we love.
Yeah, and I just think just seeing the original movie and just seeing the way that the clowns moved and the just how terrifying they looked, as well as them just being so fun and absurd, really just goes so well with the video game. And to be able to do the asymmetrical thing to really give you that experience of being a clown or a human is just works so well together.
Yeah, and I will say the vibes were all there. Definitely kind of felt the experience of watching the movie again. So you know, this sort of asymmetrical horror multiplayer idea has been out there for a little while now. We have Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So how would you say that you aim to kind of differentiate yourself from those other games and get players hooked on yours?
Well, I think the 3 to 7 gameplay makes it more of an invasion. So it's not one clown you're up against, it's multiple clowns. So I think that really captures what we did in the movie.
Yeah, and it's funny, and IllFonic, given that they have such vast experience in that gameplay mode, so we knew we were in great hands from the gameplay side, so we just brought this great cosmetic veneer to it that puts us in the clown universe. And it's funny, like when we do appearances and things, like fans of the movie always asking about what's going to happen in the future, and they say, if you get to ever do a sequel, I want to be in it. And there are two responses. They either want to be a clown in the movie so they can kill people, or they want to be a human so they can be victims. And that's exactly what this gaming experience is.
Now, what the game does is it puts the player in Act 3 of our movie. You know the clowns are deadly, you know they're out to get you, and you have to survive. It's Act 3 of our movie, and it's a continuing thing. It's scary if you're a human being trying to escape, very stressful, and a clown is fun because you're killing people in ways that you've never seen people killed before.
There's so many things, but I feel the thing I want to highlight that really will set us apart is we've given a lot more agency to the humans to combat the clowns. The clowns are not invincible. They can be defeated, and they will come back, obviously, because this is an invasion. But the humans can find things that they can use to fight back, and I think that's a really important part of making this scary, but also giving you a chance to work together and maybe survive this thing.
Yeah, and I found a good variety of things to knock them around, whether a baseball bat, knife, all sorts of guns and stuff. So that was really cool. So for a game like this, as I'm sure you know, it's really important to kind of keep players hooked, keep them coming back to build a strong community. So what sort of plans are you willing to share in terms of like post-launch content?
So we do have post-launch content in the plannings right now, because we do understand we've done this, and looking back at like Ghostbusters and things, you can see our launch schedule and the way that we kind of plan post-launch. So we know it's important, but it's also part of the design of the game that we're really focusing on the launch being something that we create a game experience that is continually replayable and really does give you an offer of different gameplay each time you're jumping in. And then post-launch, of course, being able to feed the content that will additionally add and really expand on the game.
And I think right out of the gate, if you order the deluxe edition, you get a Mike and Debbie, so you can play as our leads, our heroes from the movie.
Yeah, the clown universe is constantly expanding, both in the game and in the intellectual property.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Looking forward to the game.
All right, Old Gamer Joe here with Barely Magic Mike. We are at the Daedalic Booth, which I just taught you how to say it. I think I'm saying it right. How were you saying it?
I was saying Daedalic. Nobody told me how to say it that way.
Daedal-dee, that'll-do, whatever the case. We're at the Daedalic, I think, booth. And we've played 2 of the games over here. As you can see, Saturday, Silent Signs. I don't know if you can do a pan around to show the crowd here at all, but it is insanity here. So we can't even really cut interviews with the developers right now because it's so crazy. There's not a lot of space. They're being bombarded by people.
Yeah, they're really busy. There are huge lines to play everything at this booth. So
yeah, so it's pretty much just madness here on Saturday, as I expected it to be. It is the one sold-out day. But you got to play a game yesterday, or was it 2 days ago at this point?
Yeah, it was a couple days when I was just sort of wandering the show floor, kind of doing whatever. But I played Wood-O, which for people who are fans of unpacking, you definitely want to pay attention to that one. Very cute little cozy game, sort of a puzzle game where you click wooden shapes into kind of where they belong in this sort of little diorama scene. Very cute, very satisfying to hear the little clicks. The lighting is beautiful. Seems like they're not aiming to release it this year, probably sometime next year, but I'm definitely paying a lot of attention to that one because it looks absolutely adorable. Especially fans of unpacking, I think you'll find a lot to like there.
And you just witnessed, played Hides, Haunt, and Seek, which is an interesting kind of online experience where you play as either the ghosts or the humans. The humans are trying to eliminate the ghosts, and as the ghosts, you're basically trying to spook the humans. You're hiding in furniture, you're moving in bathtubs, you're making blood rise up in the bathtub, all kinds of pranks and stuff, basically just trying to prank the humans. I've felt mixed about this game so far, Mike. Now, this is probably not the best environment to play any video game, but it just didn't feel all that fun to me yet. Maybe if I get it home and actually spend more time with it, it'll click with me, but what did you think?
Yeah, I just watched you play it. I thought the environment is a little tricky. Looking at the screen, it seemed very visually busy. It was a little hard to tell what was going on, but seemed like one of those games you really need to get a few rounds in to really feel what's going on and what's the best way to play. So, I mean, it's a very interesting concept, especially since, you have the 3 ghosts in sort of a top-down view, and you have the Seeker in this first-person view. So definitely very unique. Something I would definitely give a go. But yeah, this might not be the best environment for a for a multiplayer horror game like that.
But I'll tell you, it's getting pretty spooky here from all the BO, so let's sign off, Silent Signs. All right, we're here looking at My Familiar, which I've just been told is kind of a buddy cop RPG in a Saturday morning cartoon style. Can you tell us about this?
So it's a turn-based buddy cop isekai RPG, but in layman's terms, it's Super Mario RPG with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style world wrapped around it, as a veneer.
What kind of combat can we expect? Traditional JRPG style, turn-based, or is it more intricate than something like that?
So we decided to polish established systems instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. We do have some fun things that I think the way we simplified it gives it a unique flavor. Like enemies will be attacking each other while attacking you, so each puzzle is a little bit different. But it's traditional turn-based combat, but we focus on duos, so we wanted to lean into the buddy cop aspect, but you can swap out your partner as you get new familiars as you go in the moment.
So for those that like grinding in RPGs, can you expect a lot of leveling, or is it kind of a straightforward experience?
It's a little bit, I think we wanted to do the opposite of more of a grinding RPG. There's a lot of fantastic indie RPGs that really have long battles and long playtime. We wanted more for a quality, story-dense, linear narrative. So we were going for a 10 to 15 hour campaign. And the battles usually can get over in 2 to 3 rounds. If you're doing well, you can shave off a round, save an item, but it's more about that forward momentum, having fun, just keep it going.
Could you give us a little bit of a hint about what the story actually entails?
Okay, so it's sort of a dual world aspect to it. There's a human world and a familiar world. The humans, an accident happens, it's an isekai, so instead of truck coon hitting you, it's a window coon you get pushed out of. You wake up like Alice in Wonderland in a new world. You have to figure out the new rules of the place. It's kind of like a Dante's Inferno out of a 80s and 90s media fever dream, kind of.
Well, I love what I'm seeing out of it so far, so I gotta ask the burning question, when can we play it?
Okay, so you can play the demo now on Steam if you want. It's about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on how you play. But we're going to be we're aiming for a Q4 2025.
Okay, does that demo progress carry over by any chance?
It probably will. I don't see why not.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for your time. Appreciate you.
All right, I am here with one of the developers of Nirvana Noir, follow-up to Genesis Noir, one of the trippiest games I have truly ever played. A great experience if you get a chance to ever check it out. So what can we expect from Nirvana Noir in terms of building on Genesis Noir?
Sure. So at the end of that game, you're allowed to make a choice between 2 realities existing. This game proceeds as if you've made both choices simultaneously, and it alternates between the 2 realities that are caused by those choices. The first one is set in a bright, sunshiny city full of color, and also some drug-related crime that you're trying to get to the bottom of, that's being pushed by a new, mysterious, cosmic cult. The second reality is exploring the same kind of city, but at night in a black and white environment where it's more similar to the first game, where you're looking at items, dealing in kind of physical, tactile puzzles, and there you're tasked by some shady real estate developers to build a giant clock tower. In the middle of that, you're also noticing some strange arsons happening around your city you have to get to the bottom of. And just like our first game, the city is full of all of the physical constants of the universe, like gravity, and the golden ratio, and pi, and all those kind of numbers that you deal with in physics. And we all personify that. So you play as Time, the character No Man, and you're kind of shoved into this detective role to figure out what's happening in your city.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I mean, the art style is incredible. So I kind of always wondered while playing through the original Genesis Noir and seeing the trailers for this one, what sort of inspired this art style?
Oh God, so many things. The main one is motion graphics animation. So the guys over there at Buck, they did an animation called Umbro Blackout in the early 2000s. And it's all this black and white line art, very similar to this. And we were really inspired by the simple graphic shapes, because that's what me and my partner went to school to study, was a lot of these kind of graphic design style character animations. So that's mainly where it comes from. Also, we're really inspired by album covers from Blue Note Jazz Records. In this game, we're really inspired by 60s poster design, all kinds of stuff, graphic novels, etc.
Okay, excellent. Are there any specific gameplay changes that you want our audience to be aware of for the sequel?
That you're seeing here, one half of the game has a lot of dialogue now. The first game had no dialogue at all, so this one, in this timeline here, we have a whole lot of dialogue, and you talk to characters all the time, and that's how you mainly interact with the world. We're going back to the first game style in the second half, where you're touching physical things and you're inspecting items. So we kind of are doing a bunch of new stuff while still having some of the old stuff as well. And the game alternates between those two timelines for each act.
Yeah, I had to ask that, just seeing out of the corner of my eye some dialogue trees pop up, and I was like, I don't remember any dialogue from the first game, but sounds like an interesting evolution. So when can we expect to see the full version come out?
Around April 2025, we're thinking. We're doing a Kickstarter in June, and we'll have a demo out for the public around then as well.
Excellent. I am definitely looking forward to this one. Looking forward to seeing more. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our PAX East coverage here, 2024. Lots of indies here this year, aren't there?
It's a lot of indies. It's not as many big companies, especially no huge booths like Devolver and I think it was Tiny Build. But it's nice because it gives us more room, brings more people to us, so I'm not complaining.
I was going to say, yeah, it's actually really cool. Different vibe this year for sure. You don't have the bigger indie publishers here, and does give some of these smaller developers and publishers a chance to shine, doesn't it?
It's nice, I think, now, especially with everything going on in the industry. It's almost like a community feel. I know a lot of the guys who also have Souls-like, we're all kind of talking about, oh yeah, the Elden Ring DLC, so you running away from it? Yep. It's like, oh, us too. So it's nice.
So we're here to talk about your game, which is, as you can see lovely behind us, Deathbound from Tate Multimedia. What makes this stand out? Obviously, there's a lot of Souls games out there. How do you differentiate yourself? How do you stand out from that pack?
It's difficult. Every single time you say it, Souls-like, they're like, oh, another one. We saw the IGN comments. Don't worry. Our developers, Trial Forge Studio, it's their first game. They spent a long time playing every single Souls-like under the sun, so they know just as much as you know that yes, it's another Souls-like. However, we're taking a different approach to it. Instead of playing a single character, you're just switching out your armor, your weaponry, you're actually one character who contains many others. You're almost like a conduit for the dead. So you'll go through Deathbound, you'll find these guys and ladies who have fallen in battle, you'll embrace them, you'll get to learn a little bit about them, get to learn who they are, why they are the way they are, and also a bit of a tutorial, of course, and then you embrace them into your party. So you can have 4 people in your party any given time out of a roster of 7. As I said, every single one kind of fills a certain niche. You've got your normal sword and shield guy, spears, spellcasters, heavies, rogues, and our new guy that we're bringing here today, which is directly inspired by our developers, is the Mandeli. He's a capoeira fighter. He plays nothing like anyone else. I like to say he plays like one of the characters from Bloody Roar, if you remember that back in the day. Very aggressive, a little hard to master, but he's very, very fun. So the idea of you playing as a single character, no, you're switching on the fly. You can combine your attacks from 1 into 2. You can move back and counter that into attack. There's a whole party system with talents, which kind of builds into a modular difficulty. Everything's upgradable. If you want to spend some points on this, you can. You want to spend some points on that, you can. If you want to make the game as hard as you want, that's possible. If you want to make it as easy as you want, that's possible.
So now, the morphing mechanic, I found it really interesting. I just played the demo myself here, and it's cool how you can switch on the fly and kind of create combos with the different forms that you take on. Where did that concept come out? How do you balance that difficulty-wise? Because another problem folks have with Souls games is they're just too difficult. The skill level just doesn't really get there sometimes for some players. Do you have accessibility options as well on top of that?
So in terms of accessibility options, we're splitting it. So obviously there's accessibility for people that might have issues with hand-eye coordination. They're different from difficulty settings. So we will have accessibility options, but the difficulty, we're not having it easy or medium or hard. The way we're looking at it is, the way you can build your party is the way you can kind of shape how much challenge you want. So, for example, you have the talent tree. There's a passive talent tree that benefits everyone in the party, and then there's specialty sections. So if you find a character that you feel you're safe with, you can build that. On top of that, you also have the ability to upgrade all your items, and we have this nice little setting where there's 2 factions in the game. If you have people from different factions, you'll get a debuff, but you also get a huge buff. So let's say 20% less health, but 30% more damage. So if you want to make the game really hard, but give it yourself a bit more of an attacking advantage, let's say if you're really confident and skillful, you can dodge everything and hit them, you can do that. If you're new to Souls-like, and you're like, I don't know, you can use the blue bars. The blue bars from the same faction, everyone gets just a normal buff, so it's like 20% extra health, no debuff. They're safe options, but it's absolutely fine. So use that. build a spellcaster, be cheesy, it doesn't matter. The modular difficulty kind of comes from how you want to build your party.
So it sounds like the game is designed very modular. Play it how you want, use the characters you like. How many different types of equipment can players expect? How many different types of weapons? How much gameplay in total, too?
Well, we don't have switchable weapons because you're switching characters. So in Elden Ring, where everyone was using the Blood Katana, for example, because it scales so well, we don't have any of that. We don't have a meta. We're kind of building this idea, if you want to use the big heavy hammer guy, then you build that character, you buff him up, and then you see who do I want to combine that with. And you're right, it's all about modular stuff. As I said with the items, let's see if you get a ring. The top will give you like 5% damage in melee, the bottom might be spell damage. And you're like, I'm only building a melee party. It's fine, you can just level the top part and get 5, 10, 20% of your physical damage. If you're halfway through and you're like, okay, I don't use spell damage, you can upgrade the bottom part. It's entirely up to the players. We don't want people to feel like they're being shoehorned in for the correct way to play. We know that's a conversation in a lot of Souls, like, we don't want that. We want people to just play the game, whether they're new, old, veterans, experienced, challenge runners. We even had a child playing yesterday. It was like a 9-year-old kid who was sitting there figuring stuff out, and that's the kind of approach we want to take.
That's fantastic. It's good that you're getting a lot of feedback here, and I know this is a question you probably can't answer when we can play it, but can folks at least play a demo in the meantime?
So while we're at PAX, for the next 2 or 3 weeks as well, this build will be available on Steam. We'll have future demos as well. Normally with a new demo, we add a little bit of content. During Next Fest, we didn't have Mandeli, the capoeira fighter. Now we do. The next demo, I can't tell what it is. It might be a different setting, might be a different level, some new characters. But yes, you can play it on Steam for the next 2 to 3 weeks. If you follow the game on Steam, you'll see any updates for future demos.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, and best of luck with Deathbound. Appreciate your time. Yep. All right.
Need it.
Yeah.
Elden Ring DLC. Leave us alone.
All right, I'm here with the developers of Fretless, a music-based, turn-based RPG where I just finished beating the crap out of some mushrooms with the power of music. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the game?
Well, basically we like to say it's a guitar RPG in that same terms.
You play as Rob, and you collect riffs, and you're able to sort of build out. You're almost like a deck builder, like you're building out the different riffs, and there's different combos going on. It's a turn-based game, pixel art game.
Basically, everything's about music. So instead of leveling up, traditionally you get pedals on your pedal board. Instead of like throwing on a scope and a silencer, you're adding strings and capos to your guitar. So every time we leaned into music, it just kept working, and we kept having more fun. So.
Yeah, awesome. So I definitely get there's a very heavy music theme here, but can you tell the audience a little bit about how the music aspect is going to impact the gameplay, or how rhythm sections kind of come into play?
So basically the rhythm elements are like your ultimate move, your crescendo, and we didn't want it to be all rhythm focused, so we still wanted elements of RPGs, but the rhythm elements is something that we intrinsically also love, but if you don't hit any of them, you still do okay. But if you hit all of them, you do really well, so we didn't want to punish you for that as well. If you weren't a musician, you could feel like one in this game.
Yeah, we wanted to focus on like accessibility, like you get to live out this fantasy of being like a rock star, and without needing to know a ton about music, which is like that could be tough to get into. So and as you do better in the game, the music will sound better through combat. And there's also there's like musical mini games and stuff like that. So everywhere in the game we're touching, we try to make it the music important.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So, I mean, do you have any sort of key inspirations, any other games you look to when sort of designing some of the key features in the story and everything?
I guess we all play games, and we take the elements and like, oh, that was fun, and try to incorporate it here. I don't know any direct references, but I think we all always playing the game of the month as we develop the game, and we're like, oh, that's something that we got to incorporate. But
yeah, definitely heavily influenced by games like Pokemon. There's a little bit of Slay the Spire. There's a little bit of Hand of Gilgamesh. That was a big influence. It's a very similar game to that game. And yeah, those are some big ones.
And maybe the aesthetic is like Hyperlight Drifter for the environment and stuff like that. There's just
color.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that a little bit. Yeah. All right. Well, I had a ton of fun with it. When can our audience expect to play the full version?
So right now the demo is available for 2 weeks on Steam, but it's going to be released in 2024, and we can't unfortunately tell you directly.
Yeah. Fair enough. It's still a long year ahead of us.
It is, yep. Still
right. Cool. Thank you guys for your time.
I just finished playing the demo of Be My Horde, and would you like to tell me a little bit about the game?
Yes, of course. If you played Vampire Survivors, I think you will understand how you should play this game, but there is a twist in it. Here, you do not attack enemies directly. Your minions are doing it for you, because you are a necromancer. You can resurrect each fallen enemy, constantly expanding your horde, make it bigger, bigger, and bigger, and just, unleash a chaos upon the forces of good, because you are quite evil in this scenario.
Yeah, it's unlike any of the Vampire Survivors likes I've played before, because you have to kind of build your army from the ground up. Start with the little guys and kind of work your way up. What is the inspiration behind it, other than obviously Vampire Survivors? Is there any other games that have influenced you?
Yes, of course, our game director, Krzysztof, he came up with this idea playing Diablo 4, because he played as a necromancer, but he wasn't pleased exactly with all the features around the necromancer, and he was looking for something similar to fulfill this fantasy of being a necromancer, and he found the game called Right Click to Necromance. He played it, he loved it, but he was like, hey, how about making a full-fledged game out of the idea? And he took Right Click to Necromance and combined it with Vampire Survivors, and this is how the Be My Horde was born.
Gotcha, that makes a lot of sense. Is there a tentative release date for Be My Horde?
Right now we are planning to release it on PC in early access, summer mid this year. I'm talking about June, July, August, something like that. After that, when we release it in full, it will come together with consoles, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation, so we kind of go with the whole package.
Excellent. If it's going into early access, is it going to be like a few levels, or are you going to kind of put the whole thing out and build from there?
I mean, in early access, you will have all the features that will be in the game, not only missions and various units, but also a castle of your character, because Moriana will have her lair when she can spend souls gathered during the combat that she can spend to become more powerful, buying some abilities, and all of that will be in the early access. During the early access, we really want to polish the game, and we are called polished games, so we kind of need to make polished games. And during the early access, we're going to polish it and add more variety to the units.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for letting me play the demo, and I'm looking forward to playing the full game.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me.
All right, we are back at the Games from Poland booth. I just had a quick demo of Tarnished Blood. One of the more interesting demos I played today, kind of a roguelite action RPG, but the actual combat system is almost like directing the battle and changing the timeline as you go through. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, it was complex stuff that we thought like, okay, we love tactics, but what do we hate about them? We wanted to add a possibility to change actions on the fly. So we thought about the turn as split it to fragments, time that you can consume and step with the actions of your characters that we would like to add, or manipulate it with it. So that's why we wanted to do this part of the game.
Awesome. So one thing I definitely noticed that kind of caught my attention when I first saw it on the Steam store is the creature design and the art style in general. So, there are some very interesting creatures, not quite unlike things I've seen in other games. So what were sort of your inspirations around the art design and the monster design in this game?
I cannot speak exactly for Joanna, which is our art director. Our designer Jerzy told us like, hey, let's do a Kingdom Death Monsters tabletop game style stuff. So Joanna and him started to work on that, and this is what we end up with. There is a caretaker, which is a garden flowery blob that spit acid on you. There is a rat thing connected with a mole rat and with big teeth and big claws. There is a star child inspired a bit by Shiva stuff, like Shiva goddess, and there is one other Arachna versions of the bosses, of the monsters. So it's inspired a bit about the myths from Greek mythology. So yeah, that's the things that we had in mind, and main stuff was Kingdom Death Monster style, kind of. So yeah.
Yeah, well, they look really cool. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some more of them. So one thing I could tell about this game is that it's going to be very challenging, but it's a roguelike, so obviously players will have some ability to upgrade some things between runs. Can you tell us more about sort of this village area where you can do some upgrades, and sort of what sort of things can players do to help themselves in these big monster battles?
Okay, after the monster battle, you will obtain some resources. Afterwards, you can use them to just craft new ones, new sets of armors, new parts of the armor, new weapons, unlock new weapons types. Afterwards, if you obtain enough resources, you can upgrade the huts that you actually creating them, giving you possibility to upgrade kind of randomly, but not too random, previous used weapons. So for example, if you have 2 crude bows, you will be able to combine them to create +1 crude bows, which isn't as good as, for example, bone bow that we have for one of the tribes, but also not better than the regular one. So same goes to the armor parts, and there are 4 tribes with unique sets of armors and unique elements that have impact on them, the abilities of the characters itself. Plus, of course, there are rituals that you can do. For example, to create new characters, you need to create a ritual using 2 characters. One of them will be locked for the next hunt after giving a birth to a new hunter. Same goes for the training of the characters. So you will be able to train the lesser experienced fighters, but with the cost of better experienced fighter not engaging the next hunt. So it's always a little bit of management of the characters, equipment, and resources. Yeah.
All right, yeah, so as you can tell, there's a lot going on here. This is a very complex and challenging RPG, and I definitely look forward to seeing more from it. So when can we expect a release? I believe it's going into early access first?
We think about the early access June, July this year. Most probably like middle of June, but I cannot be sure for that. Depends on the feedback of demo that we have already released on Steam. You actually can play the same demo that you played on PAX. Plus there is a controller support which we would like to have some feedback about, because we think it's fine and it works, but usually we aren't right. So especially from the players, it's quite complex setting up everything. So that would be really nice for having some feedback about that. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Very much looking forward to seeing more, so thank you for your time. Good luck with the game.
Thank you for your time as well.
All right, we are here now taking a look at Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days, and I have to say I just got some hands-on time with it, and I'm really not a big fan of survival games at all, but I would play much more of this. This is not your typical zombie survival game, so why don't you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, sure. So Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days is a 2.5D side-scrolling shelter survival game, and basically that means you've got a side-on view of the game. It's a single-player game, and you're managing a group of survivors who are trying to escape Walton City in Texas, 1980. So it's the height of summer, the city is being overrun, and you're trying to move all of your survivors out of the city. So the demo that you just played today is the scavenging portion of the game, where you send your survivors out to loot for resources and hope that they survive.
Awesome. Yeah, can you tell us about some of the inspirations behind the game, about the mechanics and everything, maybe the art style?
Yeah, definitely. So something that's really important to both the art team and also the music team is the nostalgic time setting, the period of the game. So we're pulling a lot from horror movies, especially of the time, and also it's set in Texas, so the soundscape is ideally quite Texan. We've got little moments in there that I don't want to spoil anything. So those are the two main influences, I would say.
Awesome. So, in the short demo I tried, obviously it was focused a lot on scavenging and combat, but there was a really heavy dose of atmosphere, and the characters have some different backgrounds. So, what role would you say plot has overall in the story, especially with some of like the traumatic experiences your survivors can have? So, is there sort of an overarching story, or are you kind of building your own as you make your way around the environment?
I think it's definitely play your own way and also building your own story. So in terms of the longer term gameplay, there are different ways that it can turn out and different plans that your characters can make to try to escape the city. So the ideal is that every single playthrough is different, but also we don't want these people to just be nameless, faceless survivors. These are people who lived in the city. They have a background, they have a story, and also as you're going through the story, you're collecting little pieces of lore along the way. So if you're someone who doesn't care about that kind of thing, you can chuck that little letter out if you don't want to read it. But I mean, there's definitely a deeper world, and that's something that's been really important in the Into the Dead franchise previously, so we definitely want to bring that element into the game.
Yeah, awesome. It's honestly looking great. I was a little surprised at how invested I am in when this game finally releases. When can we get to play the full version?
So we are releasing our first public demo in October this year, so that's when everyone will get to play the demo for the very first time, and then we're going into early access in 2025 next year on Steam. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to it.
All right, we are checking out Rugrats Adventures in Gameland.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is and what inspired it?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Thomas Guyan, lead dev at the Phoenixx Games. So our game right now, it's Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. It is a classic 2D co-op platformer, really inspired by the late 80s, early 90s era of classic licensed mascot platformers. So it's really our pitch has sort of been it's like Super Mario 2 meets Mega Man.
So one thing we noticed right off the bat playing is first of all that it's co-op, and second of all that you can really dramatically change the look of the game with just the flip of a switch. So what kind of inspired you to put that option in there to have the retro look versus the more modern?
Yeah, so the game was actually developed ground up as an NES game to run on 8-bit NES hardware. So we actually, the first year of development, we've been in development for about 2 years. The first year of development was entirely making the 8-bit NES ROM version of the game. And then when it came to doing the HD development, we used that same code base from the NES in doing the HD version because we wanted to have that gameplay feel authentic to the time period, but at the same time feel modern so that you could swap between the two modes seamlessly and it would just feel right. And that was really important to us.
That's really apparent when we're playing the game. It has that same feel. It's hard to describe as a Nintendo game, an NES game, but it looks beautiful. It's so colorful. Are you a fan of Rugrats? Any other cartoons or kind of mascot-inspired games that inspired this adventure?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was a fan of the cartoon growing up, especially the earlier seasons when I was younger. And that's really what we wanted to pull into, the sort of the pre-movie seasons of the TV show. So that's why we went with the character roster that we did. And just this type of game, we're really going for sort of that old school Capcom Disney Afternoon-esque vibe. Like you had your DuckTales and Darkwing Duck and Chippendale Rescue Rangers. We wanted to make a game in that style with that same kind of vibe to it, based on another cartoon that was around that same time period, which Rugrats is. So that's basically how it came together as it did.
Awesome. Is there a tentative release date?
We don't have a hard release date yet, but it is coming very soon. It will be later this spring, so 2024.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you.
Welcome again, Indie Warriors. We're back at PAX East, and I'm here with one of the developers at Serious Sim, one of the developers of Heading Out. So there is a lot going on in this game, like a pretty extensive mix of genres. So why don't you tell us a little more about it in your own words?
Right. So when it comes to creating the game, we did a little bit of an experiment. We thought, would it be possible to create a racing game mixed with a narrative game? So our greatest inspirations are like the old driving movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s, Selma and Louise, Vanishing Point, Driver. It's all about this idea of dropping into your big muscle car, driving through the Midwest, experiencing a journey, a road trip. So the game is a unique mix of this driving genre game, which is a more like dexterity-based, a typical driving style game, with this big overarching layer of more like a roguelite approach to your choose-your-own-adventure style of game, where you can encounter different types of adventures, stories, and the things that happen to you have a huge impact on the narration that you hear from the game. So one of the big things we wanted to make is that for each player to have a unique experience. So when you fire up the game, you create your own character. And it's not a character when you choose your height or hair color, but it's who you are as a person behind the wheel. So you answer tough questions, be it what is your greatest regret, what was your family like, and depending on your choices here, the game will provide a story for you, narrated in the voice, in the options of radio host, talk radio, or adventures that you will meet along the way.
Right. Excellent. So one other thing I certainly noticed, and which you can easily see playing the game, is that it's very heavy on style. There's a lot of interesting color schemes going on, very heavy on the comic book style. I got sort of like a Sin City vibe a little bit at times. So you want to tell some of your inspirations in terms of sort of the art style and kind of what you're thinking there?
Sure. Well, it's a long story because our narrative lead and the person behind the story of the game, he did a PhD on comic books. So that's one of the inspirations why we chose this route. Our art lead is also a huge fan of comic book art, and when they put their heads together and say, okay, this is the style we're going for. We also, choosing this type of style, we don't want to fight with realistic games. We are a small indie studio with just a few people on board, so we cannot make a realistic looking game. So it will be impossible for us. So that's where the heavy stylized ideas come from, the comic book. This striking contrast, because it's not only like catches your eye, but it's also, in a sense, possible to do for us, like for a smaller studio. So that was the decision behind why it looks like the way it looks.
Yeah, awesome. So I also noticed, just from a quick 10 to 15 minute demo, I already made a lot of choices kind of going into it. So how big of a factor would you say choice plays in the game? Would you say things sort of impact your run down the line, or sort of how does that all play out?
It's a mixed bag. So some of the encounters that you will meet along the road, they'll be strictly narrative based. So it's just for you, for the player, to ask yourself as a player, what would I do in that situation? But as the game progresses and opens up a little bit, because it's act based, starting from Act 2, Act 3, when it opens up a little bit, the acts are longer. Then some of the stories combine into mini arcs and mini adventures where your decisions at the beginning of your run will have a huge impact on how the outcome of what kind of outcome you will have. At the same time, it will not only be in this sort of comic book encounter form that you've seen, but also you will see the changing narrative coming from the radio. So the radio host will comment on your decisions, not always, because as I said, a mixed bag, but a vast amount of the decisions you will make in the game will have an impact on the story that you hear from the game. So the game is talking to you in a sense.
All right. Awesome. So like I said, there's a lot going on here. I'm very excited to see how it's all going to come together. When can we expect to play the full release?
Well, you don't have to wait long, because the full release is on May 7th. So that's when the full game is coming out. It'll be a full release available to purchase. We are fighting right now to be Steam Deck verified also. And if it lands well, then we'll talk about consoles.
All right. Awesome. Appreciate your time. Looking forward to it.
We are here at the No Games booth checking out Street Dog BMX. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the game?
Yeah, sure. So it's a kind of somewhere between an arcade game and a sim game, trying to find the line between that kind of old school Tony Hawk style game and skate game, but with bikes. So you're just going to ride around loads of 6 levels, doing cool tricks and just hopefully discovering some fun things to do.
Very cool. What is some of your inspiration besides the obvious Tony Hawk and things like that? Is there any other games that inspired Street Dogs?
Yeah, so I used to play a lot of Dave Mirra back in the day, obviously. But I think the biggest thing is actually inspired from me having ridden a BMX for over 20 years. So I started making games because I ride BMX and I wanted to play a game that didn't exist. So I taught myself how to program. So probably my biggest inspiration is from BMX itself rather than from games, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Can you still ride BMX?
I'm getting a bit older. I do a lot more of it digitally now, but I can do a bunny hop.
It's a great alternative, though, and a lot less risk.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. When is the game set to come out? Is there a release date, tentative?
So tentative, we're looking at kind of towards the end of the year, maybe early access, depending on how we get on with the production, essentially, on Steam to start with, and then we'll see how we go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to playing.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Hello, Indie Warriors. Barely Magic Mike here again from PAX East 2024. And I'm here to talk about some student projects coming from the DigiPen Institute of Technology. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have here?
Yeah, so everything here is student-made. We've got Super Space Blank playing over here. It's one of our multiplayer games and one of our most popular from DigiPen. And then we've got some single-player setups over there on our left. Everything's student-made. Students spend all 4 years within their major at DigiPen, working within one specific degree program, and then they work with other students in other degree programs to create comprehensive projects such as these. So as an artist, they're doing all of the art assets in Super Space Blank, while someone else is doing all of the sound and all of the computer science and coding behind that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So how does somebody kind of get involved in this? How does somebody create a game and sort of get it showcased here?
Yeah, so you have to be a student. Everything that we're showing off are from our college. So you apply as a freshman, you submit a portfolio if you're applying to one of our Bachelor Arts programs, and then if you're going into computer science, you just apply directly to that. You spend all 4 years in your program, and then starting year 2, you're working with other students to create these projects. So in order to get showcased at DigiPen, you have to make the game through DigiPen, through one of our degree programs. We also have master's programs, so if you want to do a 2-year master program on top of your already existing bachelor degree, you could do that as well, and you would be able to make games like these as well and get them in our Steam page.
Cool. Sounds like a pretty awesome opportunity to kind of get a foot in the gaming industry. Yeah, appreciate your time.
Hello, Indie Warriors, back here at PAX East 2024. We just got done playing a cute little indie here called Mighty Knight Legacy. Kind of has an arcade feel to me. It reminded me a little bit of like the Castle Crashers games, some of those. What's the inspiration behind this one?
You got that right. Castle Crasher and Kingdom Rush. Poof. And that's Mighty Knight Legacy. You're seeing it.
So it has like a really cool cartoon aesthetic to it and stuff, but what are some of the things that are going to set this game apart from other games?
Oh, well, we are pretty proud that we have this AI companion, which our competitors don't have. So most of the games, if it's local co-op, you need 4 players to play 4 units. In our games, you can bring all 4 units, even if you're alone. The other 3 will be controlled by the computers. That's it.
That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. Now, when can we actually expect to be able to play it?
The game is going to be released on Steam, hopefully December this year, and console comes the next year.
All right, well, we appreciate your time. Good luck with the game, and yeah, take care.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to I Dream of Indie Games right here at PAX East 2024. We're over at the Phoenixx Booth, Japanese indie publisher over here, and they have 3 games for us to check out today. Could you tell us a little bit about all 3 games?
Yeah. And today we bring the 3 Toho project game. It's so famous, well-known IP in Japan. And today we bring the Toho Genso Wanderer and the Toho Empire and the Toho Mysterious Izakaya.
Excellent. Now, are these all expected to be released this year, 2024?
Yeah, and will be released on the May 2nd. Toho Mysterious Izakaya will be published on the Nintendo Switch. And after that, the May 15th, the Toho Genso Wanderer will be released. And also, maybe the summer, and the Toho Empires will be released on this year.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about what each game is, as far as what kind of genre it is, how it plays?
And Toho Genso Wanderer is the dungeon RPG. It's like the Shiren, Furai no Shiren. This is I don't know about the English name, but the dungeon RPG. And the Toho Empires is RTS. It's like Age of Empires. And after that, the Toho Mysterious Izakaya is a simulation, and to organize the izakaya, it's like bar.
Very good. Are you looking to translate even more games in the future to bring them over to North America?
Yeah, of course. And we want to bring a lot of the Japanese great game into the all over the world and to localize it by the English.
Very much. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, we are here with Andrea from Joystick Ventures, and we have a few games we're here to check out. You have a pretty interesting lineup going on. We got some hands-on time with a couple of games: Chicken Police Into the Hive, a sequel to Chicken Police, and Big Boy Boxing, sort of a Punch-Out inspired arcade game. So why don't you tell us a little bit about these games?
Sure thing. Well, first off, Big Boy Boxing is an arcade boss rush game. It's inspired by Punch-Out. So it's Punch-Out, but make it super, super wacky. That's basically it. It's pretty fun to play, but it's kind of hard. And then we see Chicken Police. Chicken Police is equal to Chicken Police Painted Red. It's basically a noir mystery murder kind of thing. You play as Sonny and Marty, two chicken detectives, and you're solving a very mysterious and global conspiracy theory kind of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the style of Chicken Police especially. It is so ridiculous, but I'm very, very into that. For fans of that one especially, since it's a sequel we're talking about, what sort of different mechanics, what sort of changes can they expect from the original title?
Sure thing. First off, and I think this is one of the most unique things, the first game was completely black and white. It was a definite differentiator for the game. Right now you can choose if you want black and white or Technicolor, which is very exciting. It's a very fun way to play. It does have all the classic Chicken Police things, so the voice acting is amazing, the characters, the comedy and all the dialogue. That is exactly like the first game. You do have some new mini games that I'm not gonna spoil, but they're pretty fun. And I mean, the mystery is completely new, right? So what we go and see in Chicken Police Into the Hive, we go directly into the hive. This is the part of town where all the insect kind live, right? So it's like a new part of the world of wilderness that we're exploring.
Nice, and I definitely saw one of those mini games myself, which I was not expecting at all, but I will not spoil it for our audience either. You can definitely play it whenever the full game comes out, which is, do you have a sense of when the full release is going to be?
Yes, we think the full release is going to be in October, so we're very excited about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, like I said, you have a bunch of games here. We only tried out Big Boy Boxing and Chicken Police for today. Anything else you want to highlight before we go?
Yeah, I think also the other game that is coming out on October, aside from Chicken Police and Big Boy Boxing, is Star Baders. Star Baders is a deck builder. Basically, you choose a pilot, you pilot a mecha, basically, and you start killing alien invaders, you know? So you choose the right cards, you kill them. It's very fun as well.
Awesome. I will play basically any deck builder, so I definitely look forward to hearing more about that one. All right, Andrea, thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, we're here at the Retroware booth, checking out some of their brand new lineup that they have coming out. Some awesome looking games here. I'm here with Justin. Justin, can you tell us a little bit about every game you have coming out?
Every game we have. Yeah, I'm Justin. I'm the creative director here at Retroware. We have 3 games coming out right now. We put about 10 total. We bring a lot of our retro and modern titles to PAX, of course. Coming up, we have Iron Meat, is the soonest one, hopefully by the summer. It is a running gun shooter, very much like Contra 3, but you know, at Retroware we kind of do retro experiences with modern conveniences, so it plays a lot tighter than a lot of those old games, kind of how you felt like you played it back in the day. That's going to be a fun one. We have the Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest, which is kind of a parody homage of the Castlevania games, the early ones on NES. That's going to have a lot of fun elements, RPG kind of stuff in there. And of course, Toxic Crusaders, which is that Konami-style beat-em-up, Ninja Turtle-style thing based on the 90s cartoon, coming out next year.
What is it about retro you think that still remains so popular and resonates with gamers today? Do you feel like a lot of gamers are starting to move away from the AAA scene and get more into small indies like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 things. I think retro is always important, and I think that golden age between NES and PS2 is always going to be strong no matter what. And I also think with indies, you know, you have more bats at the plate because there's so many people making indie games, and pretty easy to get success because there's a very big, vibrant community, and AAA has a lot of its own problems nowadays. So, yeah, you know, there's issues everywhere, but I'm glad to be one of the bigger indies here.
Yeah, we were talking with some of the other staff about Toxic Crusaders here in particular, and I believe it's a continuation of a second season that never happened. Is that correct?
Yeah, the original Toxic Crusaders show pretty much ended in 1991 and started. It was 13 episodes, and pretty much the people who Fred Wolf Films, who made the original Ninja Turtles cartoon, says, "Hey, we want to show about environmentalism and kind of compete with Ted Turner's Captain Planet." So they got Lloyd Kaufman, who knew a lot of people there, who did Troma Entertainment, and they made the Toxic Avenger movie, the gory horror movie from 1984 about a superhuman, superhuman hero of superhuman size and strength kind of thing, like Toxic Crusader. And they made it into an actual cartoon where they fight crime and do all that. Same animation studio. And it ended. And pretty much the game picks up as if it was a second season. So it takes place so the game thinks it's in 1992. And that's why it looks the way it does and plays the way it does. And not only that, it includes elements of every Troma franchise, like their whole movie verse, and a lot of other things that are popular from the time.
All right, well, we're super excited about this lineup. Justin, thanks so much for your time, and we can't wait to play all of these awesome games.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we are here with Dan, developer of a Corgi's Cozy Hike, one of the most adorable games I played here at PAX East 2024. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, yeah, I'm Dan. Corgi's Cozy Hike is just where you're this nice little corgi on vacation, and along his way he finds corgi butt power, and he uses that to climb mountains and soar through the sky and prove that stubby legs can't stop you.
If there's something I've always wanted, it's more butt power, so I definitely appreciate that in the game. So what would you say were some of your greatest inspirations to make this game?
Well, as far as games go, Banjo-Kazooie, Spyro, those were my favorites as a kid. And also like a short hike, really a more recent game that inspired me for make this like bite-sized open world adventure that's just relaxing and wholesome and non-violent, something to like be really, that.
Well, definitely, it's really cute, it's really colorful, definitely gives the vibes of like a short hike, a similar sort of graphical style. So I noticed there's a charity aspect to the game, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Some of the proceeds go to animal shelters, I believe?
Yeah, exactly, and the charity is the real inspiration behind it, because I used to work at Amazon as just a software dev, and I saw these like foster parents of some dogs, and I learned what shelters really had to go through, how much they struggled. Meanwhile, I saw like how much money games made, and I thought I could use my skills towards something better. And so I decided to quit and just start, making games that donate to animal shelters. And so this game, when it releases, 10% of everything we make goes to different shelters we work with, and we will rotate every quarter or so and do special events like that just to help specific dogs get treatment or like whatever they need to get adopted.
All right, so you heard it, a cozy corgi game with a charitable focus. When can our viewers expect to get their hands on it?
Well, right now we're expecting for Q3 to release it, but you can also play a demo on Steam right now. It's pretty fun, it's open world, so just go around, be a corgi, live like a dog.
Live like a dog, a motto we can all live by. Thank you for your time. Can't wait for the full release.
Yeah, thank you.